The United States informed us they will be imposing 25% tariffs on Canadian exports to the United States and 10% on Canadian energy.
These are supposed to be our f***ing allies. Why are we fighting with our allies right now? What the fuck?
Is there a concession you're looking for, sir?
No, we're not looking for a concession, and we'll just see what happens.
Trump signs tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. Does this even make sense at all? He's also planning on putting tariffs in the EU. Why didn't he do tariffs at the same time for the EU? Yeah, he actually did it. Jesus Christ. Canada and Mexico. We literally, this was the only international trade that Trump did. Was the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, the superseded NAFTA. This was his big achievement for negotiating a great deal. And now we just blew this the up. Like, this is insane. It's unhinged. Nearly $900 billion of imports, by the way. It's like half our shit. Isn't it better long-term for the American people to see the consequences for voting in someone like Trump and take our lumps rather than have it go good in the short term? Remember what I said. I'm trying harder. I'm trying harder to be where the puck will be and not where the puck was or is. Go to where the puck will be. I don't think people care about the economics. If prices go up, people will be glad. They'll be glad to pay more for Made in America or to support Trump's tariffs. Like, I think that that's what you have to prepare for mentally. You can't keep fighting the economic fight. They don't care about the economics. You have to figure out what they actually care about. And at this point, actually, I don't even know the answer to that. Hold on one second. Aren't economics arguments very important because it helps to mobilize our own base? Not when people don't adjust their opinions related to the actual economics. You're so wrong on this. Why do you think Trump even won the election? I think it was largely over social issues, or not social issues, but over how society consumes information, I think is why he won. Why are we doing a bigger tariff on Mexico and Canada than we are in China again? Trump is imposing a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada, as well as a 10% tariff on Chinese goods. Canadian energy imports will only be tariffed at 10%. The tariffs are set to take effect on Tuesday. The tariffs signed Saturday include a clause that stipulates the U.S. could increase the tariffs if any of the countries retaliate, which they obviously will. Jesus, which they are expected to do. For months, the president has vowed to impose tariffs on the three countries as he's called on them to do more to crack down on the flow of migrants and fentanyl into the U.S. Do you think that tariffs are going to effect an irreversible lasting change to the U.S. economy / international relations, or will it all go back to normal if the Democrat wins in 4 years? Like I said before, it can't be this crazy back and forth. This doesn't work. So this is probably, like, the fact that Trump got elected for a second time was already probably irreparable harm to our reputation internationally. I mean, all of this is just going to further that. Yeah. Destiny 100% sends the message that the U.S. is too volatile and sets the precedent to get nukes to ride the way the wind flows, like Taiwan, South Korea, and more nuclearization in Europe. Yeah, the issue is that it just makes us seem schizophrenic. We're no longer seen as like a stable power. And the saddest thing, could you imagine? I don't see this happening for at least a decade, but that's a long time. But like, imagine the world slowly steps away from like the USD as a reserve currency, and then we have to go through some like crazy austerity shit because we can't be as crazy with our spending as we are right now. Although it's not like as a percentage of GDP. I don't think our debt is like insane compared to most other countries. I don't think. But Jesus. Can you watch Trudeau addressing Canada? Sure.
It's wonderful. I have so many friends in Canada. It's a great place.
Is there a concession you're looking for, sir?
No, we're not looking for a concession, and we'll just see what happens. We'll see what happens. And with Mexico, it's the same thing. We have a $250 billion deficit, and we have a lot of people coming into the border. And
he keeps saying we have a deficit, like a trade deficit. That just means that we import more than we export, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I think he thinks that a deficit means that we're literally like lending them money or something. I think that's what he thinks that means.
Well, we've largely stopped that, but we've stopped that ourselves. I think they've done a fantastic job. You've seen the numbers; they've dropped to almost zero. But we've suffered under the past administration for years and years. We've suffered with millions.
What has gotten in Trump's head that tariffs are great? Did he do any of this his first term? He did do it his first term. They were bad. The government had to bail out. I think it was like steel manufacturing and soybean farmers like crazy as a result of them. But
of criminals coming into our country, criminals, people from jails from all over the world that come through Mexico, and they come through Canada too. A lot of them come through Canada, and a lot of fentanyl comes through Canada, and China makes the fentanyl. You know, China makes the fentanyl, gives it to Mexico, puts it through Canada, puts it through different places, mostly Mexico, but also a lot through Canada. And so all three haven't treated us very well.
There were
Sir, can I
significant.
ask you about your meeting with NVIDIA? What did you talk about, and do you think you need to ban more of the chips that they're selling to China?
Well, he's a great gentleman, and I hadn't met him. He's the biggest in the world in terms of chips. And I can't say what's going to happen. We had a meeting. It was a good meeting. But eventually we're going to put tariffs on chips. We're going to put tariffs on oil and gas. That'll happen fairly soon. I think around the 18th of February. And we're going to put a lot of tariffs on steel. We already have tariffs on
Is this about revenge, pettiness? What's up with him? I truly can't answer. I don't know right now. I can't say. I don't know.
steel, and we've saved our steel industry, but that was relatively small compared to what it'll be. But we're going to be putting tariffs on steel and aluminum and ultimately copper. Copper will take a little bit longer, and that'll happen pretty quickly. It'll mean it'll be a great boost for our steel industry. It'll make our steel industry very strong. If I didn't put the tariffs on years ago on steel, which actually Biden left because there was so much money that they couldn't do anything about it, I think we would have lost. We wouldn't have one steel mill in this country if I didn't do that. We saved the steel industry. So it was an honor to do it, and I think the people that love me most in the whole world are people that make steel. But we're going to be putting, sometime this month, next month, we're going to be putting tariffs on steel and aluminum, and we'll give you an announcement as to what the exact date is. But it'll be a tremendous amount of money for our country, a tremendous amount. These are big numbers. And in addition to that, and you see the power of the tariff. I mean, the tariff is good, and nobody can compete with us because we have by far the biggest piggy bank. And so that'll take place very quickly. But
What do you think it'll take for the Republican Party to 180 on Trump? I don't know. Everybody supports him. It's a cult. I don't know. What does it take to 180 in a cult leader, historically?
also we'll be doing pharmaceuticals, and to bring our
Like, as long as his fan base is willing to show up and vote, then people are going to follow him to the ends of the earth.
industry back. We want to bring pharmaceuticals back to the country, and the way you bring it back to the country is by putting up a wall, and the wall is a tariff wall. We were the richest country in the world. We were at our richest from 1870 to 1913. That's when we were a tariff country. And then they went to an income tax concept, and how did that work out? It's fine. I mean, it's okay, but would have been very much better. So we'll be doing pharmaceuticals, importantly, and drugs, medicines, etc., all forms of medicine and pharmaceuticals. And we'll be doing, very importantly, steel, and we'll also be doing chips and things associated with chips.
And sir, what do you plan on talking with the Japanese Prime Minister about next Friday when y'all meet?
Well, he's coming in next week.
Canada's detailed retaliation plan to U.S. tariffs that will seek to hurt Republican states the most. Based. Not that they'll care, but... Oh my God, we got a statement from Mexico. We categorically reject the White House's slander against the Mexican government of having alliances with criminal organizations, as well as any intention of intervention in our territory. If such an alliance exists anywhere, it is in the United States armories that sell high-powered weapons to these criminal groups, as demonstrated by the U.S. Department of Justice itself in January of this year. What's that a reference to? In 4 months, our government has seized more than 40 tons of drugs, including 20 million doses of fentanyl. It has also arrested more than 10,000 people linked to these groups. If the United States government and its agencies wanted to address the serious consumption of fentanyl in their country, they could, for example, combat the sale of narcotics on the streets of their main cities, which they do not do, and the money laundering generated by this illegal activity that has done so much harm to their population. They could start a massive campaign to prevent the consumption of these drugs and take care of their young people, as we have done in Mexico. Drug consumption and distribution is in their country, and that is a public health problem they have not addressed. In addition, the synthetic opioid epidemic in the U.S. has its origins in the indiscriminate prescription of drugs of this type authorized by the Food and Drug Administration, as demonstrated by the lawsuit against a pharmaceutical company. Good one. Mexico does not want confrontation, blah, blah, blah. To this end, I proposed to President Trump that we establish a working group with our bus public interest problems. Uh-oh. I instruct the Secretary of Economy to implement Plan B that we have been working on, which includes tariff and non-tariff measures in defense of Mexico's interests, nothing by force, everything by reason and right. What is Plan B? Cited report. Justice Department announces the ATF's publication of final volume of National Firearms Commerce and Trafficking Assessment. Gotcha. These are supposed to be our f***ing allies. Why are we fighting with our allies right now? What the f***? Why are we fighting with our neighbors? Hello? We're the United States of America. These are our friends. These are our neighbors. Jesus. Careful, Trudeau. The Texas economy is larger than Canada's, and we're not afraid to use it. Excuse me. You're a state cuck. Texas exports $36 billion and imports $37 billion from Canada. Damn. I just can't believe we're fighting with our friends, with our border partners. It's actually insane. It's unhinged, guys. It's not good. Oh. I wonder if it's just in here. Was this a 2025 thing that we're just supposed to fight with our partners? This is for DOD foreign military sales, minimize barriers to collaboration. decrease international traffic and arms regulations, to facilitate trade with allies such as the UK, Canada, and Australia. Well, it's not this part we're doing. Jesus. The U.S. must work with Mexico, Canada, and other countries to develop a hemisphere-focused energy policy that will reduce reliance on distant and manipulable sources of fossil fuels. Okay, well, we're not doing this part. Bro, he's not even going with the Project 2025 shit. What the fuck? What's happening here? The U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement contained the strongest and most far-reaching labor provisions of any free trade agreement, with protections and commitments to reduce labor abuses and raise wages. It also established new modes of enforcement. Ooh, America's trade deficit in goods and services. Oh, here Canada and Mexico are up there. Why is it? Bro, I hate my fucking country. Tariff relief. When people try something repeatedly and it still doesn't work, they should stop doing it, especially when the consequences turn out to be just what conservative economists have long predicted they would be. With tariffs, the proper reform is not only to get rid of the individual tariffs that have backfired, but also to build institutional safeguards against future abuse. We are 5 years into the biggest experiment with tariffs since the Great Depression, and the results are in. The new tariffs raise consumer prices for ordinary Americans by about $1,200 per household every year and benefit only a small number of special interests. Yes, this is what tariffs do. Even Project 2025 people realize this. Steel and Steel and aluminum tariffs enacted on national security grounds angered allies. Beijing made not a single substantive reform in response to 4 rounds of tariffs plus an attempted phase 1 agreement. The Biden admin has left the tariffs in place and is expanding them to pursue progressive policy goals. The first order of business for a new administration that is focused on American workers and consumers is to repeal all tariffs enacted under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, and Sections 201 and 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. The president can do this unilaterally, and Congress can do it through legislation. The second order of business requires Congress to pass legislation repealing Sections 232, 201, and 301. The U.S. Constitution places all taxing authority with Congress and none with the president. Congress used those provisions of law to delegate some of its taxing authority to the president because it was having trouble passing clean tariff legislation in the 60s and 70s. Well, who is Trump getting this tariff thing from then? It can't be helping. It's not from Elon Musk, right? I imagine his car shit is getting fucked. It can't be from any of the big domestic people. Like, who the fuck? Who gave him this tariff talking point? I'm so confused. Oh, shit. Hold up.
Bonsoir. Good evening. Today, the United States informed us they will be imposing 25% tariffs on Canadian exports to the United States and 10% on Canadian energy. A decision that, should they elect to proceed with, should take effect on Tuesday, February 4th. Cette décision met en péril une relation économique historique. Une relation qui a été la source de tellement de richesses, de prospérité et de possibilités des deux côtés de la frontière. Tonight, first, I want to speak directly to Americans, our closest friends and neighbors. This is a choice that, yes, will harm Canadians, but beyond that, it will have real consequences for you, the American people. As I have consistently said, tariffs against Canada will put your jobs at risk, potentially shutting down American auto assembly plants and other manufacturing facilities. They will raise costs for you, including food at the grocery stores and gas at the pump. They will impede your access to an affordable supply of vital goods crucial for U.S. security, such as nickel, potash, uranium, steel,
Potash?
and
What's
aluminum.
that?
They will violate the free trade agreement that the President and I, along with our Mexican partner,
Mineral.
negotiated
Fertilizer.
and signed a few years ago.
Okay. Damn.
But it doesn't have to be this way. As President John F. Kennedy said many years ago, geography has made us neighbors, history has made us friends, economics has made us partners, and necessity has made us allies. That rang true for many decades prior to President Kennedy's time in office,
The fact that he's saying all this in terms of like, big tariffs. I don't know what they do. I don't care. I'm tariffing them until we make all the cars.
And in the decades since,
Buy my crypto.
from the beaches of Normandy to the mountains of the Korean Peninsula, from the fields of Flanders to the streets of Kandahar, we have fought and died alongside you. During your darkest hours, during the Iranian hostage crisis, those 444 days we worked around the clock from our embassy to get your innocent compatriots home. During the summer of 2005, when Hurricane Katrina ravaged your great city of New Orleans, or mere weeks ago, when we sent
For the
water
fires
bombers
of California.
to tackle the wildfires in California. During the day the world stood still, September 11th, 2001, when we provided refuge to stranded passengers and planes, we were always there, standing with you, grieving with you, the American people. Together, we've built the most successful economic, military, and security partnership the world has ever seen. A relationship that has been the envy of the world. Yes, we've had our differences in the past, but we've always found a way to get past them. As I've said before, if President Trump wants to usher in a new golden age for the United States,
This is like getting a scolding from
the
a
better
teacher.
path
Well,
is to partner with Canada.
I think he's going to announce
to
tariffs,
punish us.
retaliatory tariffs, but we'll see.
Canada has critical minerals, reliable and affordable energy.
He has to announce
stable
them.
democratic
I feel like
institutions,
he has to.
shared values, and the natural resources you need. Canada has the ingredients necessary to build a booming and secure partnership for the North American economy, and we stand at the ready to work together. Let's take a moment to talk about our shared border. Our border is already safe and secure, but there's always more work to do. Less than 1% of fentanyl, less than 1% of illegal crossings into the United States come from Canada. But hearing concerns from both Canadians and Americans, including the American president himself, we're taking action. We launched a $1.3 billion border plan that is already showing results, because we too are devastated by the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that has torn apart communities and caused so much pain and torment for countless families.
How much can Canada really hurt the United States? I think Canada, is our largest trading partner, aren't they?
Across Canada, just like in the United States. A drug that we too want to see wiped from the face of this earth. A drug whose traffickers must be punished.
So quite a bit.
As neighbors, we must work collaboratively to fix this. Unfortunately, the actions taken today by the White House split us apart.
The problem is I feel like these countries have to work together against the United States, like Canada and Mexico especially, because they're part of the same trade agreement. We're all part of this post-NAFTA U.S. Mexico-Canada trade agreement. I feel like Mexico and Canada should work together to tariff the U.S. and say, hey, listen, this is what's going to happen until you fix your shit. Because if they all try to do this unilaterally, the U.S. can win because we're bigger than any of them individually. We can probably endure more, especially with how strong the economy's been set up in the U.S., probably more than Canada can attacking us.
Instead of bringing us together. Tonight, I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade actions with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
Damn.
This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives.
Jesus.
Ce soir, j'annonce la réplique du Canada. Des tarifs douaniers de 25% sur 155 milliards de dollars de marchandises américaines. Dès mardi, 30 milliards de dollars de produits américains vont être touchés par ces tarifs, et dans 21 jours, pour donner le temps aux compagnies canadiennes de trouver des options alternatives, ce sera le cas pour 125 milliards de dollars de marchandises de plus. Like the American tariffs, our response will also be far-reaching and include everyday items such as American beer, wine, and bourbon, fruits and fruit juices, including orange juice, along with vegetables, perfume, clothing, and shoes. It'll include major consumer products like household appliances.
The issue is that I don't know if, like, again, we're playing on different playgrounds here. There's different rules going on. Well, because I was going to say, I think MAGA will suffer. Like, I think for Democrats, if you made life worse for us, we would be like, okay, well, what the fuck do we need to do to change this? But if you make life worse for MAGA, they'll be like, oh, as long as they're suffering more than we are, I don't give a fuck. That's the challenge. But not all Trump supporters feel that way. You just have to discourage a percent or two from voting and you basically win, I guess. So it's not like you have to convert even a double-digit percentage of them. You just have to do like 3 or 4% and then it's over, I guess. But
furniture and sports equipment and materials like lumber and plastics, along with much, much more. And as part of our response, we are considering, with the provinces and territories, several...
or motivate non-MAGA voters, or motivate like independents from actually, or more Democrats, dipshitocrats from actually going out and voting, yeah.
And as part of our response, we are considering, with the provinces and territories, several non-tariff measures, including some relating to critical minerals, energy, procurement, and other partnerships.
Oof.
We will stand strong for Canada. We will stand strong to ensure our countries continue to be the best neighbors in the world.
Like, literally, no matter what, this is already a monumental fucking failure in terms of leadership. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck, guys? Hello? These are our neighbors. These are our friends. These are it's like these are our strongest neighbors. What the fuck? Why are we in a trade war with our strongest neighbors? We have the combined largest market in the world. I'm pretty sure it's even larger than the European Union is the U.S. Mexico Canadian market, right? Like, what the fuck, guys?
With all that said, I also want to speak directly to Canadians in this moment.
And we're not even 2 weeks into his presidency.
I'm sure many of you are anxious, but I want you to know we are all in this together. The Canadian government, Canadian businesses, Canadian organized labor, Canadian civil society, Canada's premiers, and tens of millions of Canadians from coast to coast to coast are aligned and united. This is Team Canada at its best. Plus tôt aujourd'hui, j'ai parlé avec les premiers ministres de toutes nos provinces et territoires. On est unis et solidaires. Ils ont tous appuyé notre approche. On est aussi alignés pour faire tomber les obstacles qui freinent le commerce entre nos provinces et territoires et rendre ça plus facile pour les consommateurs de choisir les produits de chez nous. Il y a quelques minutes, je me suis entretenu avec Mme Sheinbaum, la présidente du Mexique, notre autre partenaire nord-américain, qui a lui aussi été la cible de tarifs douaniers aujourd'hui. On s'est engagé à travailler ensemble pour y faire face. Il s'agit d'une menace qui vise l'ensemble du pays.
He talked to Mexico? Wait, is he not just repeating shit in French that he says in English? Why would he say different things in the other language? That's bullshit.
Et ça m'a fait chaud au cœur de voir autant de nos leaders répondre à l'appel et s'engager pour qu'aucun Canadien
Wait, he says the same in French and English? Oh, well, fuck you.
soit laissé pour compte. Notre gouvernement va être là pour les Canadiens. On va être là pour vous.
Please stop repeating this bullshit argument. The only rational argument I've heard is that Trump wants to get more favorable import deals from Canada and Mexico, but obviously that is the worst way to do it. It can't be that everything is on the table for every negotiation. That's not how the real world works. People don't treat you seriously when you do that. You can't go into your office with your professor arguing about your last test score, and when he's like, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to negotiate this? You want to do extra credit? And then you open your vest, you have a vest full of fucking grenades, and you're like, I probably won't do it, but like, I'll blow this whole motherfucking building up if you won't give me fucking 10 points on that final, dog. You can't do that. You cannot negotiate this way. This is brinksmanship of the worst degree. We're past brinksmanship now. Now we're getting retaliatory tariffs from our largest trading partner and our closest friend and dearest ally in the entire fucking hemisphere. What the fuck?
Même chose, en même temps, j'ai quelque chose à vous demander. Je vous demande d'être solidaires les uns des autres. Beaucoup d'entre nous ont été affectés.
Oh, he isn't repeating everything. He just said he had a call with Mexico's president today and they will work together for tariffs and the economy. Okay. Yeah, I would imagine.
Par tout ça, et vont
The
vivre
DuPont
des moments
method.
difficiles. Je vous demande d'être là les uns pour les autres. D'être là pour vos amis, vos voisins et vos compatriotes. D'un océan à l'autre, les Canadiens sont...
Bro, should I have sold all my shit? What are our markets going to look like? Oh my God.
Très différents. On parle de différentes langues, on a de différentes croyances, on a de différentes opinions, de différentes idées. Mais quand on reste unis, on puise notre force dans cette différence. And now is also the time to choose Canada. There are many ways for you to do your part. It might mean checking the labels at the supermarket and picking Canadian-made products. It might mean opting for Canadian rye over Kentucky bourbon, or foregoing Florida orange juice altogether. It might mean changing your summer vacation plans to stay here in Canada and explore the many national and provincial parks, historical sites, and tourist destinations our great country has to offer. C'est le temps de choisir les produits d'ici et d'appuyer les entreprises d'ici, d'appuyer nos producteurs agricoles, nos manufacturiers, nos travailleurs, nos entrepreneurs, nos artistes. It might mean doing all of these things or finding your own way to stand up for Canada. In this moment, we must pull together because we love this country. We pride ourselves on braving the cold during the long winter months. We don't like to beat our chests, but we're always out there, waving the maple leaf loudly and proudly to celebrate an Olympic gold medal. On a notre propre identité, notre propre histoire et nos propres valeurs. Les Canadiens sont accueillants, ouverts, novateurs, ambitieux. On préfère régler nos disputes avec diplomatie, mais on est prêt à se battre quand c'est nécessaire. Canada is home to bountiful resources, breathtaking beauty, and a proud people who've come from every corner of the globe to forge a nation with a unique identity worth embracing and celebrating. We don't pretend to be perfect, but Canada is the best country on earth. There's nowhere else that I and our 41 million strong family would rather be, and we will get through this challenge, just as we've done countless times before, together. Thank you. Merci. Vive le Canada.
Trump said he's going to increase tariffs if Canada responds. What's the end game here? Who blinks first? I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like their governments are probably more stable than the U.S. government, but I don't know if stability is a favored trait here. I have no idea.
All right, so we'll take 20 minutes of questions, 20 minutes de questions.
Because Trump said explicitly in his tariffs, Trump literally said that he left open the possibility, not the possibility, he would raise them if they retaliated. And he knows they're going to retaliate. They have to. So I don't...
Une question, one follow-up, une question à suivi. Merci.
Bonsoir, M. le Premier ministre, Raymond Fillon de TVA. Est-ce que vous avez parlé ou tenté de parler avec le président Trump aujourd'hui ou dans les derniers jours?
Ça fait depuis l'inauguration que j'essaie de rejoindre le président. J'espère pouvoir lui parler bientôt. It's been since the inauguration that I've been reaching out to speak with Donald Trump. I hope to speak with him sometime soon.
Dans son décret qu'il a signé aujourd'hui, M. Trump menace le Canada d'augmenter encore plus les tarifs s'il y a des mesures de rétorsion. Vous annoncez des mesures de rétorsion ce soir. Certains vont se demander est-ce que c'est pas risqué, est-ce que ça risque pas d'envenimer la situation?
On va toujours faire ce qui est nécessaire pour défendre les Canadiens, défendre nos intérêts. On est en train de répondre avec un ensemble de mesures fortes mais appropriées et on va continuer d'être là pour défendre le Canada, les Canadiens et notre avenir.
Bonsoir, M. Trudeau. Vous avez mentionné
Someone said, have you been able to talk to Trump? And he said no, but he wishes to. Like, these are failures of leadership. Like, I said this before with that crazy, when the Office of Management and Personnel, or was it the Office of Budget Management and the executive, tried to give guidance on how to implement these crazy Trump EOs on our federal administrations and nobody knows what the fuck to do. That's a failure in leadership. Like, how are you not communicating any of this to anybody? No one has any idea what the fuck to do right now. Like, it's an actual clown, it's a clown show. Like, even our economy, I'm so curious if our markets have priced this in. I really want to know what our stock markets are going to look like when they open on Monday. Like, have the markets priced this in yet? Did people really think this was going to happen?
que vous envisagiez d'autres mesures qui ne sont pas reliées aux tarifs. Pouvez-vous élaborer?
C'est sûr qu'on a il y a beaucoup d'initiatives en dehors des tarifs qu'on peut entreprendre en tant que pays. On est en train de parler avec les provinces et territoires sur certains éléments dans leur région, leur juridiction. On a aussi des mesures comme ce que les provinces sont en train d'annoncer, d'enlever l'alcool, les spiritueux, les vins américains de leur régie des alcools. Il y a des mesures au niveau de l'approvisionnement municipal, provincial et même fédéral où on peut moins acheter des Américains. Le choix des Canadiens d'acheter des produits.
The reason why I feel like the Russian shit and the Elon Musk stuff on X is so evil is because people respond to like public pressure, or not public pressure. People respond based on how they think other people are responding. Like if you go into a subreddit and you see something is upvoted, 30 times and it's like the top comment, then you're going to be more likely to agree. It's like, okay, well, that guy must be upvoted, right? This is why I'm saying that like on all social media platforms, at the very least, I think the nationality of every account should be revealed. It should be mandatory. The nationality of every account should be posted because there's going to be so many fucking accounts today that are posting like, thank God, like Trump is leading us into a brighter tomorrow. And this is what America First means. And these are like Russian and Chinese accounts. These are all Russian bots. But like actual conservatives in America are going to see this. Okay, well, fuck, I guess like if all the other conservatives are on board with it, fuck it. Then I guess, yeah, sure. I guess if this is what we have to do, sure. And it's like these people are, they think they're in like the presence and the company of fellow Americans, and they're not. It's just like foreign agitators. It's insane.
Produits canadiens, de choisir des biens et des services du Canada et non américains. Ça fait toute partie de notre réponse collective.
Mais juste pour préciser, explication peut-être de couper.
Easily defeated with a VPN, though. That's the argument against necessity. It's not an argument, though. Why do people say that it's easily defeated? First of all, anything that requires you to defeat it is automatically going to cut off some percentage of the bots. Number one. Number two, you can ban VPN IPs and at least force them to use other things. Like, yeah, it's a back and forth, but you don't just give up. What the fuck?
De l'approvisionnement en énergie. Mais la deuxième question, c'était davantage sur le décret des Américains. Il n'est pas question là-dedans, il est question de la frontière, mais pas de la relation commerciale. Est-ce que c'est parce qu'il faut s'attendre à une deuxième vague de tarifs?
Tout d'abord, ce qui est important quand on va regarder différentes façons de répondre ou de mettre encore plus de pression sur les Américains pour reculer sur les mesures qui sont de l'avant, on va s'assurer qu'il n'y ait aucune région du pays ou aucune industrie qui va...
Trudeau said, if Trump is going to up tariffs as retaliation, Canada will stand its ground and will do what is in Canada's interest.
Porter un plus large fardeau, un plus lourd fardeau que d'autres régions. On sait qu'il y a certaines industries, dont l'industrie pétrolière, qui ont un grand impact aux États-Unis, mais on va s'assurer que toute réponse qu'on va faire va être équitable à travers le pays, parce qu'on ne veut pas que ce soit seulement une région ou une partie du pays qui paye le plus pour défendre tous les Canadiens, et c'est quelque chose, un principe sur lequel tous les premiers ministres sont d'accord.
Est-ce qu'on peut s'attendre à une deuxième vague? C'est ça aussi la question.
Sur l'enjeu d'autres, pardon, une deuxième vague, dans quel sens?
De tarifs, parce que dans le décret, il n'est pas question de la relation commerciale, il est juste...
Ah non, oui, tout à fait, tout à fait. Ces tarifs d'aujourd'hui sont ancrés...
Will this affect literally every aspect of the economy or just certain sectors? If you think that China is an important trading partner, Mexico and China, or I'm sorry, Mexico and Canada together, I think are like 6 times the amount of trade that we do with China. And we tariffed China as well. So even China has been tariffed as well, just 10% though instead of 25%. Like the total trade we do with Canada is, I'm sorry, I exaggerated a little bit. But Canada and Mexico together is going to be twice as much as China. And China was tariffed too. So we don't know what the retaliatory tariffs are. And for the European Union as well. So yeah, these are huge trading partners. These will affect every single part. These will affect every single part of the country. It was never about money also. It was never, ever, ever about, it was never about money, and it was never about the cost of eggs. It was never about the economy. Like,
sector, where we're looking at other measures that are non-tariff measures. Could you explain further? Yes. There are many initiatives outside of tariffs. There are many things that we can do as a country. We have talks between provinces and territories with regards to different things in their respective jurisdictions. Provinces are also announcing measures such as removing American spirits, liquor, and alcohol from their stores. Some municipal...
How will the right try to spin this in a positive way? The right doesn't exist in this fucking country. They don't have to spin it because they don't exist. It'll be Russian bots spinning it, and then it'll be Russian paid people like Charlie Kirk or Tim Pool or Tulsi Gabbard and RFKs and government or Jack Persobic or like all of these people are going to be the ones leading that who are going to say it's based and awesome because Trump can do no wrong. And then audience captured losers like the Daily Wire. How fucking stupid are we? Also, keep in mind, the whole reason why any of the people who barely held on to any amount of intellectual honesty whatsoever, only reason why they supported Trump is because, well, he wouldn't actually do this. And now he has done it. So now what are they going to say? Eventually we're going to go, okay, fuck me. Maybe the guardrails, maybe he actually came with a bulldozer this time. The guardrails aren't holding. Or maybe this is actually really fucking bad. Like, what the fuck? And throw in the Young Turks there as well, because fuck those guys.
Provincial and federal initiatives with regards to public procurement. Choices can be made on procurement, and we can buy less American products.
How do tariffs on both sides affect the average Joe? It just means the cost of everything goes up. You're not going to maybe notice it as much because companies are going to try to hedge against it as much as possible by firing people or cutting services or cutting the quality or whatever as much as they can. But prices on basically every single thing in this country will go up. Cars, like even Project 2025 already said that prices have probably gone up. This is even Project 2025, okay? This is before Trump was in office. We are 5 years into the biggest experiment with tariffs since the Great Depression. The results are in. The new tariffs raise consumer prices for ordinary Americans by about $1,200 per household every year and benefit only a small number of special interests. That's what tariffs do.
and choose Canadian products and services rather than American ones. All of this is part of our collective response. Yes, but are you going to cut?
Does Canada putting tariffs on the U.S. affect the U.S.? Yes. When Canada puts tariffs on the United States, what that means is that when somebody is exporting something from the U.S. to Canada, a Canadian has to pay an import tax on that thing. So in effect, it doesn't mean that they're going to pay the import tax. What it actually means is they're just going to order it from some other place. So if I could buy it for $10 from the United States, or I could ship it from Europe for $11, and now I've got a 25% import tax on the US good, it's not that I'm going to buy less from the US, and it's not that I'm going to buy the same and pay a 25% import. I'm just not going to buy from the US, and I'm going to shift all of my consumption over to Europe. So then it hurts our export market, which hurts our domestic markets, which also tariffs are just fucking horrible. It's just bad. It's just bad. Tariffs are just not good for your economy. It's just the worst thing you could do.
The energy supply? The second question is this. It has to do with the executive order coming from the Americans. They talk about the border, but they don't talk about the trade relationship. Is it because we can expect a second wave of tariffs? Well, first of all, what is important is that when we're going to look at different ways to respond or to exercise some pressure on Americans so that they'll back down on these tariffs, we're going to make sure that there is no region in the country, no industry that will bear a greater burden
than the red states.
We know that there are some industries that will bear a greater burden than another. We know that there are some industries, such as the oil industry, that has a huge impact in the U.S. But we're going to make sure that our retaliatory measures will be equitable. We don't want to be one region or one part of the country to pay a stronger price for the defense of all Canadians.
Wait, why? That's retarded. Man the fuck up. Target conservatives, bro. What the fuck? Well, or maybe not. No, actually, no. Never mind. I am in support of equitable. I changed my mind immediately. Fuck them. Fuck Democrats. Fuck the people that didn't vote. Make them suffer too. You're correct. It should be on everybody. Fuck them.
And this is a principle on which all the premiers agree. Can we expect a second wave of tariffs? That was the question. On the issue...
Is he talking about Canada? Oh, he means like where are the tariffs going to be in Canada? Oh, maybe that could be the case as well. Okay, sure.
Of a second...
He should have... He should target all the sectors in the U.S. though, because it needs to motivate Democrats as well as conservatives.
Wave of tariffs? Of tariffs, because in the executive order, they don't talk about the trade relationship, they talk about a second wave of tariffs. Well, today's tariffs are rooted in the concern of the president with regards to fentanyl. The reality is that Canada represents a very small percentage of the fentanyl challenge in the U.S., and we're prepared to work with them to solve this issue in our communities as well as theirs, in as much as we can. There's an investigation on our trade relationship that is underway in the U.S. system, and this will end on April the 1st. At that point, they will make other decisions.
In regards to actions we might take in terms of responding to the American trade action, there are a number of different industries and regions of the country that can have greater leverage over the United States. One thinks of the oil industry, for example. What is extremely important for me, and I think for all the premiers, is that no one region of the country or one industry carries a larger burden than anyone else in standing up for Canada. We need to all be in this together. This only works if Canadians are fully united from coast to coast to coast to stand up for this extraordinary and beautiful country. And that's why, as we look at different measures, including non-tariff measures that we might move forward on, we will not be moving forward on issues that further divide the country, which is why we're working with all premiers to look at different ways we can encourage the Americans to step back from these trade actions.
Do you think it's bullshit that all Canadian prime ministers must be able to speak French? No, I think Quebec is probably an important part of your country, and that's part of the buy-in, I guess, that they have to remain part of it, and you guys don't all fucking descend into chaos.
Radio-Canada. So to be clear on this, tariffs on natural gas and oil are 10%, but for the rest of products, 25%, because the U.S. needs our oil. They need many other things from our energy sector. Where are you prepared to shut the tap off? Well, yes, of course, Americans need our natural gas. They require our oil, our critical minerals, but they also need automobile parts. They need agricultural products. They need our cement, our softwood lumber, and there are many things that Canada produces and that we sell at a very good rate to Americans, and they depend on this for their economic well-being. Tariffs of 25% on everything that Canada produces is going to hurt Americans. It's going to hurt American consumers, American producers. We're expecting to have huge challenges in the automobile industry in the U.S., where parts and Canadian...
Oh, Smith and Scott Moe do not speak French. That is not a demand. Oh, okay. I thought it was normal that your PMs and everybody in politics, like, don't you have 2 official languages in your country?
Mexican labor are essential components of their work. So we're going to be there, and we're going to look at this. We're going to encourage Americans to back down on these tariffs. And we will use all this suite of tools at our disposal. To be clear, we don't want to be in this situation. This is the choice of the Americans to place us in this situation, but here we are, and so we will respond in a responsible and strong manner to defend Canada. This evening, some people booed the American anthem.
Did Trump even talk about tariffing Canada and Mexico before the election? Yes, he talked about all this shit. He's just doing exactly what he said he would do, and it's catastrophic. The only defense for Trump was that he wouldn't actually do this. And also, even if we wanted to assume in the best, most not steelman, it's unobtainium man, okay? Because you're talking about vibranium, whatever Marvel material that doesn't even exist to create like the alloys needed to steelman these arguments, okay? It's not like he's using these to negotiate. He's just doing them. Like, go to the table and negotiate then, I guess. And if you want to threaten being an unhinged lunatic, then do it. But he's not threatening being an unhinged, he's just being an unhinged lunatic. What the fuck?
At a hockey game here in Ottawa, are you angry? Were they right to be angry? We have a very long history with Americans. We have an unparalleled partnership, but we've had our differences and we've had tensions between both of our countries. And these are deeply felt because we're so close. We are neighbors, friends, we are family, and it can be very painful when we go through difficult times.
The reporters asked Trump what concessions he's looking for, and he said nothing. Yeah, I know. We listened to it earlier.
I trust Canadians, and I also trust the American people. I believe that the American people understands that their greatest challenge in the world is not to pick a fight with Canada, and that by working together, we can go through these difficult times and to come out of this even stronger. I think that Canadians perhaps don't understand why Americans are targeting their best friend and their closest ally and partner rather than targeting other countries in the world.
25% of tariffs on $155 billion of U.S. goods. Jesus Christ.
I think Canadians are a little...
What are the total U.S. exports? Total U.S. exports 2023. I should be looking this up. Was about $3 trillion. And we still don't know. Well, Mexico is going to be tariffing stuff. The European Union will probably be next if we start doing that. For no reason. There's not even any reason for this. Like, Russia is invading and destroying Ukraine right now. And we're engaged in trade wars with allies for no reason. There's literally no reason for this. Nothing is even happening right now. This is one day ago.
Mr. President, is there anything China, Canada, and Mexico can do tonight to forestall your implementation of tariffs tomorrow?
No, nothing. Not right now, no.
Not a negotiating tool?
No, it's not. No, it's a pure economic. We have big deficits with, as you know, with all three of them.
That's such a stupid fucking... And the thing is the deficits are probably going to decrease, I guess, because we're just going to trade less. And is he going to think it's a victory?
And in one case, they're sending massive amounts of fentanyl, killing hundreds of thousands of people a year with the fentanyl. And in the other two cases, they're making it possible for this poison to get in, number one. And number two, we have big deficits, and it's something we're doing. And we'll possibly very substantially increase it. We're not. We'll see how it is. But it's a lot of money coming to the United States. As you know, we have about a $200 billion deficit with Canada, getting close to...
Does he think the fiscal deficit and the trade deficit is the same thing? I think he does. I really do.
$200 billion. They've treated us very unfairly. And I say, why should we be subsidizing Canada? It's wonderful. I have
like so many... like what he just said there, we're subsidizing Canada. It makes it sound like that's what he thinks it is, yeah.
Friends in Canada, it's a great place.
Is there a concession you're looking for, sir?
No, we're not looking for a concession. And we'll just see what happens. We'll see what happens. And with Mexico, it's the same thing. We have a $250 billion deficit, and we have a lot of people coming into the border. And now we've largely stopped that, but we've stopped that ourselves. I think they've done a fantastic job. You've seen the numbers. They've dropped to almost zero. But we've suffered under the past administration for years and years. We've suffered with millions of criminals coming into our country. Criminals, people from jails from all over the world. They come through Mexico, and they come through Canada, too. A lot of them come through Canada, and a lot of fentanyl comes through Canada. And China makes the fentanyl. China makes the fentanyl, gives it to Mexico, puts it through Canada, puts it through different places, mostly Mexico, but also a lot through Canada. And so all three haven't treated us very well.
Will tomorrow's tariffs include oil?
What?
Will tomorrow's tariffs be inclusive of Canadian crude?
I'm probably going to reduce the tariff a little bit on that. We think we're going to bring it down to 10% on the oil. So it's 25% on the Canada side.
Mr. President, are these tariffs stacking on top of already existing tariffs? Or
yes, on top of whatever may be existing. Yeah.
Who is telling him to do this, and what would be your best guess as to why they'd want to do this? I don't know. I still don't know. I'm sure somebody has written on it, or there must be something. I have no idea.
And partner, rather than targeting other countries in the world.
I think Canadians are a little perplexed as to why our closest friends and neighbors are choosing to target us instead of so many other challenging parts of the world. I don't think there's a lot of Americans who wake up in the morning saying, oh, damn Canada. Oh, we should really go after Canada. We're there as friends, as partners. We always have been, we always will be. Sure, we're going through a difficult time right now, and yeah, emotions may run high here and there, particularly around hockey games.
Like, what have we done anything to, like, the states that we were supposedly enemies with? We saved TikTok, so that's technically good for China. And then we've harmed Mexico Canada, we've still threatened, like military action against Greenland is on the table. Like,
but I know
will the effects of these tariffs be immediate or realized over a year or two? My understanding is that these tariffs go into effect on Monday, on the 3rd, in 2 days, is my understanding. I don't even know if... I'm curious if we even have, like, the federal infrastructure to levy all of these. Like, is the infrastructure in place? Is that, like, an easy or trivial thing to do? Or is there, like, some whatever federal body, I don't know what is in charge of levying tariffs. I'm so curious if they even... Oh, sorry, Tuesday, not Monday. I thought somebody said the 3rd, not the 4th.
Because we have the most successful partnership the world has ever seen, and it's a true value in this time of really challenging geopolitical instability.
Gillian Piper with Global News. Prime Minister, will you recall Parliament to pass a bill to help Canadian workers and end prorogation?
As you can see from our strong response package, as we spoke about with premiers this afternoon and have for many weeks, we have the tools to be able to support Canadians through this challenging time as it stands. This is a moment for Canadians to pull together, including Canadians of all different political parties. This is a moment where we need to set aside our differences and focus on delivering for Canadians, standing up for Canadians, and protecting the most successful political, military, economic, and security partnership the world has ever seen. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We have the tools to do it as a government right now, and we will keep doing it alongside our premiers and our partners.
A member of the Canada-U.S. Council, Lena Payne, today said that an ally would not act this way, and therefore the U.S. is no longer Canada's ally. Do you agree with that?
Like I said, I think there are going to be people who are upset and even hurt by what's gone on here. But I have faith. I have faith in Canadians, but I also have faith in the friendship between...
Why are targeted tariffs better than blanket tariffs? Targeted tariffs are worthless. Blanket tariffs are better because if you do a targeted tariff, you'll just import from another place. So they do nothing except for fuck over a person. In my mind, somebody can tell me why I'm wrong. I feel like a targeted tariff is basically just a sanction. But somebody can tell me if I'm not understanding that.
Canada and the United States, it has gone through challenging times before, but we always make it through because we've been able to count on each other for over 150 years, and we will continue to be able to do that long into the future. This is a friendship that has stood the test of time, and despite challenges that we can work on and we will work on together, we will continue to be friends and neighbors.
Prime Minister, you said earlier that you're not going to move forward on measures that would further divide the country. Does this mean that blocking energy exports is fully off the table?
It means that any conversations around further measures, particularly involving one industry or one region of the country more than another, is something that we're going to do carefully and thoughtfully and with the full partnership of regional leaders, provincial premiers, businesses. No one part of the country should be carrying a heavier burden than any other. We're in this together. We're all going to stand together, and we'll be there for each other from coast to coast to coast.
And President Trump said in the executive order that it's about the border and fentanyl. Do you think that this is what it's about?
No. Trump has to declare some kind of national emergency to have the authority to do this, and fentanyl is just the thing that he's chosen. He doesn't actually give a fuck about fentanyl. That's just the legal loophole he needs in order to enact the tariff.
One of the strongest, more secure borders in the world between Canada and the United States. As I said, less than 1% of fentanyl going into the United States come from Canada. Less than 1% of illegal migrants going into the United States.
He has to respond to the talking point because it's the talking point, but that's just...
come from Canada. That doesn't mean there isn't more to do. And that's why we've invested $1.3 billion in strengthening our borders. And we're seeing over the past number of weeks, past couple of months, the numbers significantly decrease at the border already. We are making progress in working together, including sending joint teams over to China to talk about the precursor chemicals that get developed into fentanyl all across North America. There are things that we can and must do together, and I understand the preoccupation the American president has with fentanyl deaths. We share those preoccupations. We've seen far too many communities across our country devastated by toxic drug supplies, by fentanyl.
Wait. What? Hold on. Canada at 20% tariffs on $155 billion of U.S. goods.
The American president.
Canada's own 25% tariff on $30 billion to start on Tuesday.
And has with fentanyl deaths.
On 24% tariffs on other $120 billion on 21 days.
We share those preoccupations. We've seen far too many communities across our country devastated by toxic drug supplies, by fentanyl, by opioid addictions. We have taken action over the years, but we're happy to do even more with the United States to counteract this horrific tragedy. That's why we have committed to doing even more and working alongside. But this trade action against Canada is not the best way we can actually work together to save lives.
Good evening, Prime Minister. Stephanie Taylor with the National Post. What does it tell you about your relationship with President Trump that you've been trying to get a hold of him and he hasn't been speaking with you?
I think this is a time where we've all remarked on just how active President Trump has been in engaging with a wide range of topics in his first weeks in office. As you all know, I've had many, many good and substantive conversations with President Trump over the past months where we've highlighted the work that we can do. Our ministers and officials have been engaging, in many cases like today, multiple times a day with their counterparts to talk through these issues, to move forward on areas of mutual concern. We will continue to engage, and I will continue to be there to...
This is all over fentanyl? No. Don't misunderstand. the law that Trump is drawing from in order to tariff requires him to state a national emergency before he has the power to tariff a particular thing. Otherwise, tariffs are supposed to be the purview of Congress. So he's just saying, oh, well, fentanyl, I guess, is the issue. So he can declare an emergency around fentanyl, blame Canada for it, and then that gives him the power to levy the tariffs unilaterally without having Congress do it.
Work with President Trump, as we've worked together in the past. We've worked together to solve some pretty challenging issues over the years. I look forward to doing that again. Je pense qu'on peut souligner à quel point
I think that we've seen how busy President Trump has been. I've had several conversations with him over the past few months on these issues that we're talking about today, and he's full aware of my position. At the same time, our ministers have been very active and have been working with their American counterparts. They've spoken with them several times and talked about the work that we can do together. Don't forget that myself and President Trump were able to reach agreements on important issues in the past.
President Trump on a day as consequential as this, when it really matters, can Canada have a productive relationship with President Trump and the Trump administration?
Is there no fact-checking process with this bullshit? Nobody cares about facts anymore, bro. That's gay. No one cares, okay? Facebook literally eliminated fact-checking because it was too liberally biased, okay? No one cares about fact-checkers. That's some loser shit. Okay, get with the fucking times, bro.
And moving forward.
As I've said, we've had a very effective and constructive series of conversations throughout the American administration. We'll continue to. I look forward to speaking with President Trump in the coming days and weeks. This is something that matters, but we've solved big issues before, and we will solve them again.
Last question. Dernière question, s'il vous plaît.
Thanks for taking our questions. Raisa Patel, the Toronto Star. When did you first learn that President Trump intends to increase tariffs if Canada retaliates, and how has that changed your strategy?
I think Canadians understand that we need to respond to this. We need to respond in a way that is appropriate, that is measured but forceful, and that meets the moment. We're certainly not looking to escalate, but we will stand up for Canada, for Canadians.
Is there no document or press release from the Trump admin explaining the laws and reasoning in detail? I mean, yeah, but it's all bullshit. I mean, you can read the EO. Imposing duties to address the flow of illicit drugs across our northern border. By the authority vested in me, so this is the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. This is why he needs to declare an emergency. I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, find that the sustained influx of illicit opioids and other drugs has profound consequences on our nation, endangering lives and putting a severe strain on our healthcare system, public services, and communities. This challenge threatens the fabric of our society. Gang members, smugglers, human traffickers, and illicit drugs of all kinds have poured across our borders and into our communities. It's amazing. Unbelievable. Canada has played a central role in these challenges, including by failing to devote sufficient attention and resources or meaningfully coordinate with United States law enforcement partners to effectively stem the tide of illicit drugs. What an insane claim. What the fuck? What? What? Drug trafficking organizations are the world's leading producers of fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine, and other illicit drugs, and they cultivate, process, and distribute massive quantities of narcotics that fuel addiction and violence in communities across the U.S. These DTOs often collaborate with transnational cartels to smuggle illicit drugs into the United States, utilizing clandestine airstrips, maritime routes, and overland corridors. The challenges at our southern border are foremost in the public consciousness, but our northern border is not exempt from these issues. Criminal networks are implicated in human trafficking and smuggling operations, enabling unvetted illegal migration across our northern border. There is also a growing presence of Mexican cartels operating fentanyl and nitazene synthesis labs in Canada. Okay, I don't know, maybe? Oh, Jesus. The flow of illicit drugs like fentanyl to the United States through both illicit distribution networks and international mail, due, in the case of the latter, to the existing administrative exemption from duty and taxes, also known as de minimis, under Section 1321 of Title 19 of the U.S. Code, has created a public health crisis in the United States, blah, blah, blah. It's just cringe. But... And then should Canada retaliate against the U.S. in response to this action through import duties on United States exports to Canada or similar measures, the President may increase or expand in scope the duties imposed under this order to ensure the efficacy of this action. Are we getting the bad ending right now, bros?
For Canadian jobs. We will also continue to do more together with the United States to counteract the scourge that is...
Are the Dems completely powerless to Trump's nonsense? The Dems are a minority in the Senate. What is the House state at right now? So the Republican, and I don't know what like percentages of Congress you need to overrule fucking Trump tariff stuff here. If you'd have to pass a law rescinding this past law to take away the president's powers to levy tariffs like this.
Fentanyl, We will continue to work on growing our economies together, on creating jobs and competing with the rise of non-market economies around the world. We can and will do things together, and that is my focus. My job is to stand up for Canadians. That's exactly what we're doing. But we're also standing up for the relationship between Canada and the United States, which, as I've said, is the most successful partnership and friendship the world has ever seen.
You're dealing with the U.S. administration that says, there's nothing that you can do to stop this. We're not looking for any concessions. So do you see any conceivable way out of this because of that?
The coming weeks will be difficult for Canadians, and they'll be difficult for Americans. The level of cooperation, the level of effective partnerships between our two countries that have been...
We have to hope there's a few sensible Republicans willing to vote the other way. The problem you're running into is you have to hope there are Republicans who are willing to sacrifice their entire political career, because that's what's happened to every single Republican that's gone against Donald Trump. That's the issue, right? Like, let me look up some of these. I should have like a list of names ready to rattle off. Are any of these people in office anymore? Like, Kinzinger is gone, right? Is Cheney? She's gone, isn't she? Is McCarthy still there? Like, any of these people that turn on Trump for even a second, even if they've been loyalists the entire time. Oh, Romney? Yeah, like you're just gone. A few are around, Murkowski and Collins. Well,
been established over decades and generations means that this trade action by the Americans and our response is going to have real consequences for people, for workers on both sides of our border. We don't want to be here. We didn't ask for this. But we will not back down in standing up both for Canadians and for the incredible, successful relationship and partnership between Canada and the United States. I look forward to working with the American administration on a range of challenging issues that our communities and our world is facing. And I hope that day comes soon. Merci beaucoup.
All right, this concludes today's press conference. Ça conclut la conférence de presse aujourd'hui. Merci.
And that is the Prime Minister of Canada on this Saturday night, responding to the threats, the confirmation rather, that Donald Trump is imposing 25% tariffs as of Tuesday. The Prime Minister opened up his remarks by addressing Americans directly to talk to them about the...
Mexican president, this was updated an hour ago. Mexican president orders retaliatory tariffs against the United States. When are we expecting China to respond? Probably in hours or tomorrow? I don't know what time it is over there. Time in China. 10:56 a.m. Has China responded yet? Or are we bro, how are we in a trade war and there's not even like a war happening? How are we in a trade war right now? There's nothing even happening. Nothing is happening. There's nothing happening right now. Yeah, nothing happened too hard and it flipped over. What the fuck? What the fuck does Trump want Canada and Mexico to do? He wants to eliminate our trade deficit, but he doesn't know what a trade deficit is or even how we would do that or what it even, if it's, oh, okay. Anyway. Back to Hassan. Oh, this is so fucking weird. I write regarding disturbing reports that officials... Okay, so this is Scott Bessent, Secretary of the Department of the Treasury. This was written yesterday. I don't know if this is just published today or why I'm just getting like this, but... wait. Dear Secretary Bessent, this is written by... Sorry, hold on. Ron Wyden, U.S. Senator, ranking member on the Committee of Finance. Dear Secretary Bessent, I write regarding disturbing reports that officials associated with Elon Musk and the so-called U.S. Department of Government Efficiency attempted to gain access to systems that control payments to millions of American citizens, including Social Security, Medicare, and tax refunds. A confrontation over access apparently resulted in the abrupt resignation of David Liebrick, a career nonpartisan Treasury official who recently had been named acting Secretary of the Treasury by President Trump. These reports are particularly concerning given incidents earlier this week in which Medicaid portals in all 50 states were shut down, along with other crucial payment programs, following the Trump administration illegally issuing an order to freeze all grant and loan payments. I think did he end up taking that order back because it was such a clusterfuck? Did that happen yesterday? Also, remember, just as a cringe thing, that Tina Peters lady the one who got convicted for the weird election shit, he did rescind it, or he rescinded some of it, only the memo. The thing that she got convicted for was like letting people who didn't belong anywhere near voter data in to access voter data. So it's like they've already got the template, and now they're just like doing it on a federal level now. As you are aware, the Bureau of the Fiscal Services Payment Systems controls the flow of more than $6 trillion in annual payments to households, businesses, and other entities nationwide. These payment systems process more than 1 billion payments annually and are responsible for the distribution of Social Security and Medicare benefits, tax refunds, payments to federal employees and contractors, including competitors of Musk-owned companies, and thousands of other functions. To put it bluntly, these payment systems simply cannot fail, and any politically motivated meddling in them risks severe damage to our country and the economy. I am deeply concerned that following the federal grant and loan freeze earlier this week, these officials associated with Musk may have intended to access these payment systems to illegally withhold payments to any number of programs. I can think of no good reason why political operators who have demonstrated a blatant disregard for the law would need access to these sensitive mission-critical systems. Forget this latter part. They just have no business being in there. DOGE is not even a real fucking thing. It's not even a real government department. Why the fuck do they have anything to do with anything ever? Like, they have no business being in any of these areas. Whether intentional or unintentional, failure of these payment systems could stop Social Security checks from being sent to retirees who need to pay bills and buy food and drugs. It could stop paychecks from being sent to our troops and their families. As you well know, Americans are in the middle of tax filing season, with many counting on tax refunds that they are legally owed by the government. Most importantly, the federal government is in a financially precarious position, currently utilizing accounting maneuvers to continue paying its bills since it's reached the debt limit at the beginning of the year. Oh yeah, wait, we only have like a continuing resolution right now, right? I don't even think we ever figured that out, have we? Like, this is the issue. It's the inting thing. Like, you're trying so hard to win a game, and your ally, and you even get close, you like kill an inhibitor, and then your ally finds a way to int you. They're just, it's all epic and hilarious. Like, this is, how do you counter this? Like, this is one of the saddest things that's happened since J6, since 9/11. Like, this is insane that our closest partner, like, woke up, found out we were tariffing the fuck out of them, and is retaliating against us. And it's just like epic. This is just epic and hilarious. Cadre, right? This is a cadre. That's how you pronounce this?
Cadre.
Cadre. Accordingly, I am deeply concerned about the possibility that Elon Musk and a cadre of other unknown DOGE personnel are seeking to gain access to, potentially control the fiscal services payment systems in order to carry out a political agenda that clearly involves violating the law. It appears that Musk's behavior is forcing out highly qualified and experienced career public servants in order to get his way and fulfill Trump's goal of eviscerating the federal budget, including potentially by cutting Social Security and Medicare benefits for millions of Americans who are already struggling to pay their bills or buy groceries. The press has previously reported that Musk was denied a high-level clearance to access the government's most sensitive secrets. I am concerned Musk's enormous business operations in China, a country whose intelligence agencies have stolen vast amounts of sensitive data about Americans, including U.S. government employee data, by hacking the U.S. government systems, endangers U.S. cybersecurity and creates conflicts of interest that make his access to these systems a national security risk. As you are aware, the Treasury Department was recently breached by Chinese government hackers who compromised Treasury's systems and accessed thousands of sensitive documents, including Secretary Yellen's emails. Musk's Tesla, which accounts for half of his net worth, operates its largest factory in China, producing more than 1 million cars per year in the country. Tesla has also received several unusual concessions from the Chinese government, including Tesla, to operate without a joint venture with a Chinese company. Oh, I didn't even know that was possible. Something no other car company is permitted to do. One of the ways that they get you, I think, okay, oh my God, I'm so out of my depth here. I don't know if this is true or not. I've heard this said before, that one of the ways that they get you in China is China will never steal. They won't steal intellectual property from your business. They would never do that. That's super unethical. They would never, ever do something like that. But if you ever want to do business in China, you have to partner with another Chinese company and share all of your stuff with them. And what they get from that Chinese company, well, you have no say over. And that's like how that's how they get you. That's how they get you. I was unaware that, are there other businesses that are exempt from this besides Tesla? I didn't know that Tesla got away with not partnering with any Chinese company, but Destiny, would you be able to explain simply how a tariff works? Why does Canada have to retaliate? They're confusing to me. Thank you. So a tariff just means that when I buy something from another country, there's an extra tax depending on the tariff. So if there is a 20% blanket tariff on Canadian goods and services, then when I buy something from Canada, let's say it's $100, I have to pay an additional $20 to the U.S. government as an import tax. Now, what this does is it causes the United States to buy significantly less things from Canada, which damages Canada's domestic markets, their export market. Because now Canada's market is like, okay, well, we can't sell as much to the United States because nobody wants to buy shit from us because it's too expensive for them now. Even though we sell it for $100, they have to pay $120. They're going to go elsewhere around the world to buy it. Now, when Canada's export market is damaged that heavily, and they're looking at their citizens buying shit from the United States, they're like, well, hold on. We're going to put a tariff now so that the U.S. can't ship as much stuff to us. So now something that might sell from the U.S. to Canada for $100, now they have to pay a 20% tariff. So now people from Canada are going to buy from other markets, because if you're going to rape our markets, we're going to rape your markets back. And it's going to be a giant 69 rape fest where we're all raping each other until everybody's markets are so fucked that people decide to bring the tariffs down, basically. Tesla has also received favorable loans by Chinese state-owned banks and pays a discounted corporate tax rate of 15% in China, something that could change quickly if Musk were to anger the Chinese government. In light of China's recent hack of the Treasury Department systems, it seems unusually granting access to sensitive systems to an individual with such significant business interests in China. In order to better understand the risks posed by Musk's and DOGE's efforts to gain access to the fiscal services payment systems, please provide answers to the following questions no later than February 12th. Jesus. Is there like a 10-minute YouTube video you would recommend to normies about why tariffs are bad? I don't know. Just Google why tariff bad. This is like the ideal. This is what people fantasize about when it comes to tariffs. And this is why I think tariffs are bad. Okay. And most economists, I think, will say it. Okay. Okay. So you have an import-export market with another country. All right. You sell shit to them. You buy shit from them. Okay. Now, let's say that you are, you're buying 100 billion worth of stuff from them, and you're selling 50 billion worth of stuff to them. Now, some people will say this is bad, so you could refer to this as a trade deficit. Now, there are more sophisticated macroecon arguments for why, even though they're having a $50 billion surplus, that surplus is held in USD, and ultimately it's going to make its way back to the United States in the form of investment. Wait. I did this backwards. I'm sorry. Hold on. You import. No. I did this correctly. I should just put this. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I did this correct. Right. That this the $50 billion extra that they're not importing from us is going to come back in the form of FDI, foreign direct investment, into U.S. businesses and whatnot, because they have to spend that money back in the U.S. But we don't have to worry about that right now. But basically, what a tariff says is okay, we manufacture, or our businesses could manufacture a product for $15. All right. You guys are manufacturing this product for $10. Now, as a result of that, our domestic industries can't make this product. Now, there might be times where this hurts you. Like, let's say you have an unemployment rate of like 15% and you're like, your country's fucked, your workers can't do anything, you can't, and maybe like, okay, fuck, we have to protect our domestic manufacturing, we need to do something, this is not good, okay? This is not the issue right now in the United States though, right? But you might look at this industry, maybe they're voters you care about, and you might say, okay, I need this $10. You guys are selling $10. You know what? 100% tariff on you. Boom. What the 100% tariff means is that now if I want to buy this $10 thing in the US, well, now it's going to cost me $20. Okay. And now a fool will think, so now my $15 people can manufacture this domestically based. That's not what happens though. What happens is we might buy this from Canada for $10, but there's other countries that can make it for $10.50. Or $11 or $11.25, and we're just going to go and we're going to buy it from them. This is why targeted tariffs to a single country don't really work. You usually have to target an entire industry because you're just going to buy it from some other place. Your domestic manufacturing is probably not so close to being competitive that tariffing just one country is going to get you over the line, right? So what you end up doing is either Canada just ships these same goods and services to another country, now you're just paying a middleman to ship them in, or you just buy from another country and it doesn't help your domestic manufacturing at all, unless you tariff literally the entire fucking market and the entire industry in every country. And typically people don't like that, because if you tariff hugely like that, you're usually in violation of things from the WTO, is the World Trade Organization, which says, hey, everybody should have fair trade. It's not fair to tariff some countries or some industries because it makes it hard for everybody to trade with everybody and fuck some countries over unfairly. And when you start tariffing people, everybody looks at you like, bro, what the fuck? Why is the US like fucking my shit up? I'm trying to sell some shit and they're charging me more money for it. Fuck this. I'm going to tariff them, and everything breaks down when people start tariffing everybody. So it's just not good generally to do this unless you're trying to like get into a trade war and you're trying to fuck people over. It doesn't in the long term usually help. I don't think any economist thinks it helps in the long term. Any domestic industry economically, you might be able to make arguments for it helping, like for security. So for instance, we might want to say we're going to tariff all steel imports because the U.S. manufacturing steel is good for national security, which is fine, but you're taking an economic hit for that national security purpose, which is okay. But economically, you're always in a bad world here when you're doing this. Is there such a country that acts as a middleman to just ship it to the tariff country anyway without even paying the tariffs to skip it? Well, you wouldn't pay the tariffs because you can only tariff the country that a thing comes from. I don't think they go through like country of origin. I don't even know if you'd be able to do that or how you even track that. Can't targeted tariffs successfully reduce specific U.S. dependencies? I mean, it depends on if you just want to live in a shittier world. Like if you want, you could theoretically manufacture every single thing in the United States. Like if you want, like we could just have Nokia cell phones and we could have like 386s and we could just have like, and like we could pay, you know, like 3 times as much for our food and like only have like 1 car per family and live in smaller homes. Like we could have a shittier standard of living. You can do that, but that's what broad tariffs do. If you want to make everything at home, then the cost of doing that is you're not making as many advanced goods and services anymore because you don't have enough people to make everything. Our economy is past full employment, so you can't produce every single thing from the base level all the way up. We have to export parts of our supply chain, right? Also, when you're tariffing these like fundamental things, right? Let's say that you are let's say that we put a tariff on iron, okay? We're going to make it so that iron, we're going to do it on the whole market. Okay, well, fine. So now in the U.S., maybe your iron manufacturers are now making more, but it's going to be more expensive because of the tariffs. And now the people that make swords have to spend more money. The people that make chainmail have to spend more money. The people who make armor for your horses have to spend more money. The people who make forges or anvils or whatever for your forge, like every single product down the supply chain is now also going to cost more money. So people are hurt. And it's just bad. We are not counting what positive impact comes to the community from making the product inside the USA. Fuck you. The only positive impact comes from the capital owners of these businesses and maybe the people that work there, and it hurts every single other American worker, American business owner, and American citizen that buys, an American consumer. Everybody else is hurt just to protect your itty-bitty tiny part of the economy. That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
There is no correlation between trade deficit with a particular country and that country doing better than we are. That's just not the way any of this worked. But the Trump administration is not doing this for economic reasons. They're doing it for cultural reasons. So here, let me explain why they're doing this for cultural reasons. Again, there's a picture. Okay, politics is about pictures. Politics is about stories. Politics is about narratives. So when I say trade deficit doesn't matter, it's true, but Trump is telling a different story. And the story that President Trump is telling is a story that goes something like this. Once upon a time, there were booming industries in the United States, large-scale factories, these big buildings located in Detroit, where people worked on employment lines, where they worked on manufacturing lines, and they worked there for 50 years, and they got the gold watch, and then they went home. And they had enough money based on that one salary to support their families. Why can't we go back to something like that? And the answer is because
you can never go back.
America's economy is much more developed. You have better stuff now. You have cheaper stuff now. The businesses that we work in are better to work in than those businesses. If you had a choice between working in a Pittsburgh smelter and working in the Pittsburgh healthcare industry, you would choose to work in the Pittsburgh healthcare industry. Pittsburgh, by the way, is doing quite well, right? The Pittsburgh unemployment statistic. Right?
I'm in Detroit. A tariff on Japan car imports in the 80s would have saved this city. Maybe it would have, but it probably wouldn't have because we would have just bought all of our cars from Europe. And if we would have tariffed Europe too, then maybe it would have saved Detroit, but it would have been at the cost of all of us having to drive dog shit American fucking cars. There's a reason why in 2007, 2008, all of the major car manufacturers in the US went fucking bankrupt and GM had to kill like 20 of their fucking brands. It's because American cars are fucking dog shit. And the idea that you deserve those protections and every American has to be subject to driving a fucking Chevy Silverado or a Ford F-150 kill in a video game, that fuck you.
Right now, the Pittsburgh unemployment rate currently is 4.6% as of September 2017. Okay, that is lower than Pennsylvania as a whole. It's lower than Philadelphia at 6.0%. That's because Pittsburgh has totally shifted how it works. Pittsburgh has become one of the more beautiful cities in the union. Pittsburgh is clean now. It is a service industry. It is a healthcare industry driven city. But Trump doesn't like that. He wants to go back to the pictures from The Deer Hunter, where you've got Christopher Walken working in giant gloves, right? He wants to go back to the pictures from Breaking Away, where you've got the father working in a quarry. That's what Trump thinks industry looks like. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Iran, by the way, has a trade surplus.
Terrible argument. You mean everybody would have been driving Hellcats? That sounds like a utopia.
Iran is number 15 in the world in trade surplus. Is their economy something that you'd like? Is that something that you think makes any sense? Here are the countries with the largest trade deficit, by contrast. The three largest trade deficits in the world: United States, UK, Canada. Do those economies sound pretty good to you? Because they are pretty good. Right? India is a growing economy. They have a trade deficit. France has a pretty significant trade deficit. Australia has a significant trade deficit. Again, no correlation between having a trade deficit and having a poor economy. But again, it's not about that. It's about Trump thinking he's going to win politically because he promised a bunch of people in manufacturing industries he's going to bring their jobs back. I said at the time that's a lie. Those jobs aren't coming back. Those jobs left because of technology. They did not leave because of global competition. And they certainly are not going to be protected by killing jobs in other industries, because all a surplus is, all a tariff.
Also, by the way, if they would have tariffed things to protect Detroit, the only thing they would be protecting are the robots that would be manufacturing those jobs. You are delusional if you think you're walking into an automobile assembly plant, putting a door on a car, and walking out earning $80 an hour in a union-protected job. That's just never happening ever.
Is a tax that is being placed on everyone else for the benefit of some. So if you think that, for example, the ethanol industry needs to be subsidized by the federal government, I don't think so. I think that it's nasty to tax me to pay off a bunch of farmers in Iowa. I don't see why that's useful.